Hello, dear. It's Heather, and you are watching Save Today with Heather J. I am somebody who has spent her entire adult life living paycheck to paycheck and being one life event away from financial crisis. That has to change, and the only way that's going to change is for me to actively make steps to change that. I can't wish it away. So I have decided to create a budget and stick to a budget. It's the sticking to the budget that has always been very difficult for me. In the past, several times, I have created a budget. I get 6 weeks, 8 weeks in, and it falls by the wayside. There's any number of reasons why that will happen, but it can't continue to happen. Whatever those reasons are, I can't. I have to move forward. So I have created a budget and a budgeting channel as a way to hold myself accountable and to make myself stick with it. In order to check in consistently with those of you who are interested in joining me, I need to check in consistently with myself. And so that has been helpful. The other thing that I have done that is different from times in the past is I have chosen to tie my crafting into my budgeting. I know that I find budgeting to be very discouraging because there's just not enough money to do all the things I want to do, and I definitely owe more money than what is coming in, and I know that that's a very similar refrain for a lot of you guys out there. So I have chosen to bring my crafting and my creativity in with me. I will discuss that at the end because we all have our own desires and joys. And for a lot of you, it's not going to be this creativity that I have brought for myself. So I will discuss that at the end of my videos. Today's video is going to be my July paycheck number 2 closeout. I am a little bit behind on my posting, and I'm trying to get myself caught back up. I definitely had a series of life events over this last 5 weeks. And in the last week and a half, I have really come to a standstill for a lot of reasons, which were discussed previously. So today we're going to go over my paycheck number 2 check-in. This should have happened probably a week ago at this point. So we're getting caught up. My budget, so I set up my budgets based on, I'm an hourly employee, not a salaried employee. I get paid $20.85 an hour. I estimate about 38 hours a week. For my job, anywhere from 32 to 40 hours is considered full-time. I have been really pushing the 40-hour mark most consistently, but there have been times in my work history with this company that it has been closer to the 32-hour mark. So if and when that drops back down, my budget estimates will drop back down. But for right now, I'm estimating 38 hours a week at $20.85 an hour, 2 weeks per paycheck. And then I do take out 25% for my taxes. That may change because I did get a very small raise, and I changed my insurance, and that has changed the amount that's being taken out of my check. And I do want to make sure I underestimate or estimate kind of against myself a little bit better. I want to always, anyway, let's get on. So I have budgeted, estimated I would be bringing home $1,188.45 per paycheck. And this paycheck I brought home $1,357.96, which is $169.51 more than I estimated. That's always nice. And I do want this to always to be just a little bit ahead. Not a lot. I mean, that's a lot. That's a couple of bills I can pay with that, so that's great. I always have an other line, but I don't consistently expect to have other income. But this would be where if I get taxes, those would show up there. If I get birthday money that I want to choose to spend on some of my bills, that will go there. It's just, if I ever were to get a second job, kind of mid-month, then I wouldn't have to try and squeeze that in. There's an opening for that there that I can fix out later. But for the most part, that is zero. I don't have a second job. I don't receive child support. I don't have any kind of investments or annuities that might be paying some consistent payments. So that's zero. So as far as my total income, I made $169.51 more than I estimated. The next thing I go over are my fixed expenses, which are just my bills. They're not really fixed in that it's the same month after month after month, but they are the same things that are going to show up. These are my bills. This is rent, utilities, phone bill, medical bills, credit card bills. Those things are all going to be in my fixed expenses. And so for this pay period, I had estimated I would have a credit card payment of $50. This was for a credit card payment that I thought had been paid off. I had made previous arrangements. I thought that one was paid off. Turns out I screwed up on my previous arrangements and that is not paid off. So this $50 was the first payment of reinstalling that. Going forward, it will be $200 a month. The next thing that was set to come out this pay period is a subscription for $10.82. That's exactly what came out, no difference there. Then I have U-Haul. I pay for storage boxes. I have 3 boxes. 1 gets paid at the middle of the month and 2 get paid at the end of the month. I did get my boxes shipped to me this month, but I didn't get it done in time to cancel out that payment, which is what I was hoping. So I did have to pay the $97.99 for that 1 box during this pay period, so that was no difference there. Then my utilities. Now, if you've watched some of my previous videos, you will know that how am I trying to say this? Getting my U-Haul stuff shipped to me was always going to be a lot of money. There was always the possibility I wasn't going to have enough, and I may have to rob Peter to pay Paul. And if that happened, this utilities bill was where that was going to happen. I had estimated the bill that was due plus the one I knew was coming, and that was what this $306.12 was estimated to be. Ultimately, my U-Haul getting it shipped to me did cost more than I expected. I did have to not pay this for this month. That will be caught up again, and that will be caught up. So that means I didn't pay that bill. Means I am $306.12 ahead, quote, quote, in my budget, but that one didn't get paid. And then my phone bill is the last thing that's on here. And again, if you recall from previous videos, I had to make a payment arrangement for my June phone bill to be paid in July, and then I was going to have July's bill. The payment arrangement I made did get paid. My July bill did not get paid. My July bill is now in a payment arrangement. Again, because it cost me more to get my U-Haul stuff shipped to me, these funds had to be redirected to that. I did follow through on my payment arrangement, and now I had to make a payment arrangement for this one for July's into August, which means I am $236.51 that I paid less. So that means at the end of this, I had estimated I would be paying $890.65 in fixed expenses. I actually only spent $348.02 in my fixed expenses, which saved me $542.63 that I did have to redirect to getting my U-Haul taken care of. We have already discussed why and how that came to be in a couple of my other videos. This there was no other way I was going to be able to get the funds I needed than to be able to shuffle and shift some things around. And those will be picked up in August. Additionally, my phone bill is a little bit high. My phone bill has 2 phone lines on it. It has a tablet on it, and it has the home internet on it. But it also has some insurance on a couple of those lines. And those insurances are going to be canceled. One is for 36. Actually, I don't have those numbers in there, so I'm not going to tell you what those are. But those are going to be dropped. What those are is basically, for my phone, I have a protection, a 360-degree protection, I think is what they call it, that allows me to be able to purchase new screen protectors, and I don't have to pay extra for those because that's covered. I didn't realize that I had those on those lines. I didn't realize that they were optional, and I didn't realize exactly what they cover. I have done more research on that, I do know what I'm getting with that, and I'm going to cancel that. It's only on one phone and on the tablet. It's not on the second phone. But I'm going to cancel all of those. I have not taken a good enough advantage of purchasing those screen protectors. And if I add up the amount of whatever it is, $16 a month, $9 a month, how many screen protectors that would have gotten me over the course of the life of having paid for that, I'm better off to go and buy them myself when I need them, even if they are super duper expensive. So know that this $236.51 that my phone bill currently is going to go down by some as we get into August and then into September. Additionally, I did not yet have my phone set up on auto pay, and that was because I knew this U-Haul thing had the potential to impact that. Once I do, now that my U-Haul's out of the way, it's not going to impact that. I will be able to set up auto pay for my phone bill now going forward, and that is going to reduce the bill by $5 a line, which for the two phones, the tablet and the internet, should be an additional $20 a month that will go down. So as we get into August and September, be looking for that to be less. But that's where I'm at with that. So then I did only spend $348.02 on what are my fixed expenses from that pay period. This $542.63 got redirected into getting my U-Haul shipped to me and paying for those movers. Again, that was discussed in a previous video. Then the next thing I go over is my flexible spending, and flexible spending for me is groceries, dining out, transportation, which is gasoline and buses, art, which is very important to me for any number of reasons, and miscellaneous for the things that we don't pay attention to. So I had estimated in flexible spending for groceries at $110 a week for $220 a month. That's not enough. I need to adjust that. I need to give myself a larger budget because it's just not enough to get me through. I didn't have the funds in there to schedule that in this month, again because of the U-Haul situation. So I had estimated $220. I did end up spending $259.86, which is $39.86 more than I had budgeted. Here's the thing, you guys. I had estimated and I knew it was going to be tight, but in week 3, which is in this pay period, I actually went, because I knew my funds were so tight, because I was fighting for surgery costs and car repair costs and U-Haul bills, I did go twice in week 3 and stand in 2 separate food lines and got grocery assistance in 2 separate places. And I still spent more than I had estimated, even though I wasn't spending much in groceries. It's very clear to me that I need to make a bigger adjustment. I just don't have enough of a grocery buffer as far as what's in the cupboards to have that be lower for any period of time. I need to give myself, I need to find more money in that budget. If I get to a point where I ever can be growing my own groceries, that would be great, but I'm not there yet. And then dining out, I gave myself no money in the budget for dining out. I did, however, go and spend $67.90. Now, I just said I stood in food lines twice in 1 week. I did not go buy dining out during that week. I did get dining out after the fact when I had a little bit more money in my budget to do so. I get to justify that for myself. You don't have to like it. That's where I was at. We're not there anymore. So that is negative $67.90 for this budget. I spent $67.90 more than I should have in that for this budget. Transportation, I had budgeted $80. That's 2 fill-ups plus bus trips. I only had 1 fill-up and 5 days worth of bus trips in this, so $37.66, which means I spent $42.34 less than I had estimated I would. Art, I gave myself no budget. I just spent 1 transaction for $4.64 to move my project forward. In miscellaneous, I also gave myself $0. I spent $56.07, almost all of that related to surgery stuff, which I will end up returning some of the supplies I didn't need. That was discussed in my previous video. So I had estimated I would be spending $300 this pay period for my flexible spending. I actually spent $426.13. which means I'm over budget, or I overspent by $126.13. Now, You may recall, you may not because it was so long ago, when I set these budgets up, I knew that what I was setting up was not realistic. I knew there wasn't enough money in here. I just didn't have a way to estimate extra in there. I also knew that some of this was kind of wishful thinking and a best case scenario. And I did discuss as I was setting up the budget that if I needed to make sacrifices, this is where they would come. None of this is surprising. I wish it wasn't that way, but that's the way it was. This is what I'm trying to work towards getting out of. I need to get to a point where if I have a car repair that comes up, it doesn't set me back. I need to get to a point where I know a surgery is coming and I have the funds set into the account to pay for that. I need to get to the point where if and when I move, I can take care of my possessions and without having to rely on an outside company. All of those things, that's what we're working towards. So I don't have to ever consider standing in a food line again. So I don't ever have to consider robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're trying to get out of this scenario and get ahead, but we have to get through the scenario to get past it. That's where we're at. So my ending balance, again, estimated 1188.45, received 1357.96. Thankfully, I received 169.51, more than I thought I was going to need. So I did receive more than I overspent. That's nice. Fixed expenses, I saved $542.63 in that. Flexible spending, I spent $126.13 more, which means I had initially thought I was going to be negative $2.27. I did end up keeping $583.81, which was $586.01 more than I thought I was going to have at the end of this pay period. And I don't actually have it. That just got redirected. So that's where we're at for closing out paycheck number 2. Again, the last 2 weeks of June and the entirety of July has been an incredible nightmare, very stressful and exhausting, trying to get through the eye of the needle and trying to squeeze past that pinch point. We're past that pinch point now and things are going to start opening up, but to get past my U-Haul shipment, past the car repair, which initially was going to be half of what it was, past the surgery, which we thought insurance was going to cover entirely, blah, 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 blah. We're done. We made it through that tightest week, and we're coming out the other side, and we can go from here. August won't have these robbing Peters to pay Paul. August will have all of these, we'll show these as paid off, and we're going to be moving forward. That's where we're at as we close out paycheck number 2 in July. Thank you for joining me on this journey. For those of you who are aware and choose to stay for the creative portion of my journey, know that nothing has changed from this video to the last 2 videos. I'm filming these all on the same day. I'm going to be releasing them one day at a time, so there isn't anything that's any different. For those of you who want the refresher, I'll just bring this